Alright guys, what is going on? Today I've got the XRL X3 highlights around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and going into this one I did some practice, but I was kind of off the pace by like up to 2 seconds. So going into this one I wasn't really expecting much. So in Q1 me and Classic were basically practicing what the toe would be like, and there's a success of us doing so. So coming across the line to start my actual flying lap, my original lap with the toe was a 155.5, which was kind of significant, and you'll see why. But coming out towards Eau Rouge, Classic was a little bit in front of me, had to give up the chase, and then Madcart George lets him by but doesn't let me by. I get in his slipstream and his dirty air and spin. Bit annoying that he didn't just get off the circuit and let me by, because it really did cost me my lap. Second lap, cut Eau Rouge before we even got up to the top of Radion. But then coming on to my third and final lap, I know I have to make it count, and I get blocked by Kenzie. It's annoying because 2 of my 3 laps in Q1 were impeded, but what can you do? And then I thought I'd at least try and finish the lap, get a faster lap, and I just used the inside curb like an idiot. So there goes that lap as well. But it turns out that 155 was actually enough to get me into Q2. A lot of people were having issues with Radion and like Stablo. 6 drivers didn't even post a lap. So I got quite lucky to get into Q2 there. And first lap of Q2, another invalidation, silly errors, which I can't really be affording to do. But fear not, I did actually post a somewhat competitive lap in any session. This is the end of Q2. I managed to do an okay final corner, and I ended up posting a 47 flat, which was just enough to get me into Q3. Another 2 drivers there that were actually faster than me didn't post a lap. But into Q3, and I made sure that the track was clear. I was going to have like one run at it, because I had the lack of tyres left. Eau Rouge and Radion was okay on this one. The middle sector was quite clean as well. But coming into the final chicane at the bus stop, I braked slightly late and it kind of compromised my exit. But coming up to the line, it was actually my best lap that I did probably all weekend. I went slightly faster in time trial, but it's enough for 9th place, and I'll happily take that. But as you could probably tell from the title, it is fucking raining yet again for the 7th time in a row. It is honestly getting beyond a joke now. But it's lights out in the Extreme Wet 3 Racing League, and I got a decent start again, straight up into P7, and then braked nice and early and just let the car roll into the first corner. There was a slight altercation on the first corner on the inside, so Snake ended up going wide. He kind of shut the door on me a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm okay with that, nothing malicious. Side by side with Liam going up to Eau Rouge. He actually backs out, which is very nice of him, because that would have been interesting. And Mile Time F1 ends up making a mistake. I don't know what really happened, but he was all out of shape, and I cut the corner to avoid a collision, and I actually ended up keeping the place as the safety car came out. I was in 2 minds whether to give him the place or not, but the game wasn't going to penalise me for it, so I'm not going to complain. And as you can see, that is how the safety car got brought out. Not too sure how he really made that mistake, but I do feel Damien will be kicking himself after that one. But as the safety car goes in, we go to restart the race. I'm in P5. Phantom is so clear of everybody else. Larvanators has had a shocker there, being caught napping. Snake trying to go up his inside, backs out, thinks better off it, but Larvanator with another unforced error, and he's back down into P4. That he's had a shocking restart, if I'm being honest. But when I said Larvanator's restart was shocking, Classic's was slightly worse. Bless him. He managed to spin out the final corner, and that drops him right down to the back of the field. But we head up Eau Rouge for our first actual flying lap, and I was really scared of how it would actually go. I didn't know how much grip there was available, but I managed to do it okay. And Boothie made a slight mistake, so that's me up into P4, which I will take very nicely. And then again on lap 5, heading up Eau Rouge, I still didn't really know how much grip there was and how fast I could take it, but Snake got caught out, spun on the inside, and that's me into 3rd and on the podium, which I honestly did not expect going into this weekend to even see the podium. So for me to be on it at this stage of the race is really promising. And at this stage I do have Liam kind of all over me, but I was doing just enough to hold him off. I was fast enough in the place I need to be, and then the overtaking spots, I was doing just enough to kind of keep him behind on the places where you wouldn't normally overtake. And my pace compared to Larvinator was still pretty good, like he wasn't really getting away that much, but as I say that, I put a wheel onto the grass and that's Liam side by side with me, and I did actually back out because I didn't want to go side by side through here, heading up to the bus stop. You know, with this stage of the race, I'd rather give up 3rd place than cause a collision perhaps. But heading on to lap 9, he wasn't really pulling away from me, so I knew I had a chance to get back past him. And going up Eau Rouge, I did make a mistake and run wide and get a 3-second time penalty, so that's completely on me. But we're going side by side, and there was some small contact. No one had damage, which was alright, but I do feel like he turned in slightly too early. But at the same time I probably should have turned in a little bit earlier as well. But then Liam gets another run out of Stabilo onto me heading towards Blanchimont. I give him plenty of space on the inside. I even took to the grass and I got a warning for track extending, but he managed to drift wide slightly and there was actually contact, so that's him spun out. I do feel like that was not my fault at all. But this is one of my weaknesses that I need to work on. As I head up Eau Rouge, I took too much curb, and that is me spun into the wall, bit of front wing damage, and there goes my podium. I'm back down into 7th, make that 8th because Liam gets past me. But like I say, an issue of mine is when we do have contact or there is some kind of collision, I think about it too much, whether, oh, was it my fault? Who was at fault? You know, should it have been avoided? And that was clearly in my head whilst going up Eau Rouge, and it was just a simple mistake that I made really. But into the pits I go. It's a lap earlier than I wanted, so my tyre wear might struggle towards the end of the race, but I took a 5-second penalty because under the safety car I corner cut a corner slightly, and that was my first warning, which was unfortunate. They really punish you if you make a mistake under the safety car. So coming out into P13, I knew everyone else in front of me pretty much had to pit, so I knew there was a lot of ground to still make up as Kenzie makes a mistake at the top of Radion, so that's unfortunate for him. Judd pits to make me into P12, and going up Eau Rouge and Radion, Jeb makes a slight mistake, and that's me up into P11, so I'm really starting to get into my rhythm now. And at this point I am starting to push, you know, I've got fresh tyres, I've got a bit of fuel to work with, and I end up posting a fastest lap, which I was completely surprised about. And at the time I ended up saying, fucking pick that one out of the fucking basket, love. was actually quite amusing, and I ended up posting a faster lap. It wasn't that much quicker, but that just cemented in my head that I had some good pace, and I was catching Telfy quite a significant rate. But whilst I'm hunting down Telfy, Boothie must have made a mistake somewhere and spun, because I'm catching him all of a sudden at the right rate of knots. So I'm looking to get past him, and that'll be me into the points. And as we head up Radion, I end up doing it a lot better than him, and I had the choice to go either left or right of him. I decided to go right. There wasn't much space there, and there was actually a small bit of contact on his rear wheel, but going through my head, if I went to the left, you know, that sudden change in movement, especially in the wet, I saw myself spinning, so in my head I made the right decision, but it probably wasn't. And as we head on to lap 17, Telfy makes a mistake. He's really slow through Eau Rouge and Radion. I end up having to leave the track just to avoid a collision really, but it is what it is. And coming up to the end of the Camel Straight, I'm catching him, but I'm not quite close enough. I end up braking slightly too late, and that's a bit of my front wing off. It's another silly error, but these things are going to start costing me if I keep doing them. in the future in other races as well. But anyways, that is not going to stop me, and as we go on to lap 18, I make a small twitch at the top of Radion, which makes me cut the corner slightly. I'll get another 3-second time penalty for my troubles, but I have got a nice run onto Talfi, side by side, heading into the braking zone, and that is a done deal. I'm into P9 now. But then after that, not a whole deal happened. There's about a 3-car train forming with Classic in front of me. I make a small mistake there, knock a bit of my front wing off, the other end plate's gone, and that kind of cut my pace right down because, you know, both end plates are gone now. I've got yellow on one side, light green on the other, and it was actually starting to affect me now. But as we head on to the final lap, the gap between me and this little train that we're forming was 4.5 seconds, and Classic didn't stop this race. He went the whole way just on those set of intermediates, which fair play to him, but with my tyre wear generally being a bit higher, I don't feel like there was any way of me making it. You know, like in the party, Classic said to me that going on to that final lap, his tyres were about 70%, so I knew that he was really struggling, and once he had lost 7th place, I knew that I had a small chance of catching him up. And Stumpy there on the final lap, getting the fastest lap of the race. Originally I did think that he was still my fastest lap to beat, because for the entirety of the race nothing else popped up to say that anyone had gone quicker. But as we're coming up to the final couple of corners, I'm really pushing just to try and overtake Classic for pride. I knew I wouldn't have got him on the actual classification because of penalties, but I really pushed and tried to put him under as much pressure as possible. Coming into the final corner, I did lose the back end a little bit, but it is what it is, and he beat me just over the line. But as we go over the line, it is 9th place, but due to penalties, I finish 10th. But I must say, fair play to Talfi, who finished in P10, but because he got no penalties, jumped right back up to P7. So I can only say fair play to him, to be honest, for being so clean. But as always, congrats to Phantom, who managed to pick up the win for the Belgium Grand Prix, and to Retro and Stumpy, who also finished on the podium. As for the boys in blue though, I finished in 10th, and Classic finished in 8th, which I think Classic will be happy with, considering the first safety car restart he was in fact facing backwards. But for me, considering I was running 3rd and 4th for the first half of the race, you know, I feel like I should have probably gotten more from this race. You know, it was a mistake on my own part going up Eau Rouge and Radion that kind of cost me. But, you know, at least I got something out of this race. You know, it could have been a lot worse. But looking back to like lap 4 or 5, I was really aiming for a top 5, maybe top 6 finish. You know, I would have been happy with that. But to at least come across the line in 10th, you know, it's at least 1 point, which is better than nothing, I guess, but it really was my own doing that cost me in this race. For the next race in Monza, it has already happened, so I am actually going to try and get the standings up, but obviously, because Monza has actually already happened, I can't get the standings, but hopefully from Monza onwards, I should be able to get both the driver's standings and the constructor's standings for you all to look at. But I think that just about does it for the Belgium Grand Prix. So I hope you guys did enjoy this one. It was a bit of an up and down race, but I should have the Italian Grand Prix out within the next couple of days. So besides that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.